Hi, welcome to Tyner Pond Farm. I'm Chris Baggett. I'm the farmer, the owner, I guess. Tyner Pond Farm consists of currently 7 different farms. We farm around 600 plus acres, mostly pasture and woods where we raise outdoors on pasture chickens, beef, and pork. We use Berkshire pork, delicious, delicious animals. Our primary business is direct marketing. We raise all the animals here. We raise them on local feeds and forages, and we sell them online at our website, www.tynerpondfarm.com. I'm relatively recent to farming. We started Tyner Pond in late 2010. My background has been in software and marketing software, specifically the internet. We had some good success there. Around 2006, I read the book, The Omnivore's Dilemma. And I used to drive around Indiana and I'd look at the corn and the soybeans and be like, oh, this is amazing. And once I read that book, I couldn't look at it the same way. And I really thought, man, there's got to be an alternative. A lot of farmers are kind of trapped in a system where monopolies control their inputs and monopolies control the price that they get paid for their products, and they're very, very powerless. And meantime, we're not eating good food. And I thought, well, is there a way to grow food? So reading The Omnivore's Dilemma, the hero of that book was a gentleman named Joel Salatin out of Virginia. And it turns out Joel had written several books, so I read all of his and really got intrigued by his methodologies, especially with the rise of the internet and the ability to direct market and bypass the grocery store. So what we did with Tyner Pond is essentially we started with one 85-acre farm, the one we're sitting on, and we started turning all the ground into pasture, raising grass, putting in fences, and raising cattle, pork, and chicken outdoors. And we sell it on our website, as I've said earlier. The house we're sitting in is all part of the operation. There was a house here when we bought the property, but unfortunately it was unsalvageable. So we kind of scoured around and looked for a Hancock County design, if you will. We found this model, which essentially is very, very common in our area, and we built a brand new house off of an old plan. We use this house as a vacation rental, and it really helps our operation. One of the key metrics we use to measure the success of the farm is the number of the dollars per acre we can make. How much can I make growing corn and soybeans? How much can I make growing beef? How much can I make growing pork? One of Joel Salatin's big ideas is the idea of stacking. How many different operations can you run on the same acreage? So part of the economics of this farm is this rental house, which surprisingly rents almost every single day. People come from all over the country, all over the world to stay in this farmhouse and visit an Indiana farm. Last year we had a family from Holland that their American vacation was New York City and Tyner Pond Farm with their daughters. So it's really, really interesting. It gives people a chance to visit and see a farm as it really works. So we kind of got started here because my wife is from Hancock County. We actually met in Chicago, spent several years there. We lived in New York and then Connecticut, and got to a point in our lives where I didn't want to be riding a train into the city for the rest of my life, and we wanted to make a big change, so we decided we'd move home to her home, which is Hancock County, Greenfield, Indiana. And it's been fantastic. We've been very, very happy here. I stumbled over this farm sort of accidentally back in the late 2009, 2010. I always sort of admired it because it was the last one that still had a lot of trees. It had a little bit of rolling terrain, very, very run down, but nobody was doing anything with it. And one day I happened to be driving by and there was a for sale sign, and that was kind of perfect timing. I had a job in Indianapolis running a software company, and I had a friend named Duffy Farrell, and Duffy had been working in the Indianapolis Star and had worked with horses, and we thought, okay, Duffy, why don't I buy this farm? We'll do this methodology. You be the farmer, and I'll keep my city job and help fund it while we get it started. And Duffy came in and spent the entire first winter, which was a horrible winter, I think of 2010, just miserable weather, and we had to gut everything. We tore down like 9 buildings that were all dilapidated and had to clean everything up. We'll show you later all of our new buildings. We built a meat processing plant on the premise. We built this house, and then unfortunately Duffy was killed in a motorcycle accident. It was horribly tragic. And aside from the personal tragedy, somebody had to farm. And suddenly I had to kind of quit my day job and start doing the farming myself. So, they always say, open a window, close the door, or close the door, open a window, and that was kind of that moment for me where I really, really got involved in the farming aspect of it and the raising of the animals. But one of the big motivators here is the marketing side of this, right? It's not just about raising the crop, be it animals or corn or soybeans. It's about how do you sell it? How do you get it into the hands of the consumer? And that's where I find myself spending a lot of our time. We work very hard on trying to be very vertically integrated and creating our own markets for our own products. If you think about growing corn and soybeans or even traditional hogs, those are commodities where somebody else is telling you how much they're willing to pay for it. You never really know when you put the crop in the ground what you're going to be paid for at the end of the season. And what we're able to do here and with our other partner farms is create our own marketplace. So we're outside of the commodity market, and we cut out a lot of middlemen by controlling every step of the process. So animals are born here, they're raised here, they're fed with grain that we buy from local farmers and our neighbors. We grind our own feed, we butcher our own meat, we package it, and as I said, most of it we sell online to consumers who just go online and we deliver it to your door for free. But we're also getting into the restaurant business, another great outlet. So here in Greenfield, we have a restaurant called The Mug, which has been very, very successful. Old-fashioned traditional root beer stand that had seen much, much better days. It was actually in a share of sale when we bought it, and we've improved it. We basically had to rebuild the building. We brought in a chef, Mike Tambasco, and we created this restaurant that serves very familiar drive-in food like pork tenderloins and pulled pork sandwiches and amazing cheeseburgers, but everything is local. Right now, today, the only thing that isn't local in that restaurant is basically the American cheese, which just can't be topped, unfortunately, the sodas, and our buns. And we're working right now to source our buns from a local baker in Indianapolis. We're also opening up a gastropub kind of bar concept in Greenfield called Grigsby Station. And we expect that to be open in late March. And that's going to be more of a higher end, not sit down, but more of a pub with pub type food. So a higher quality than you might get at the Mug, but still kind of very familiar, but a nice place. And someplace, Greenfield, I think we've really been missing, a nice place to go and have a cocktail with your family or your wife or whoever, your friends, and get good food. And that really helps the farm operation too, because we're able to create our own markets. We acquired a building in Irvington, and we'll be opening a Mug and a Grigsby Station in Irvington as well. We have plans right now that we're going to be building a small grocery store in Irvington. So we'll be able to market our products and other local products through that grocery as well. So we've got lots of food ventures going. We just launched an e-commerce site called Sous Vide Tonight. One of the most popular, fastest growing cooking methods for the home cook is this idea of sous vide, which is basically seasoning meat and putting it in a controlled temperature water bath in a vacuum bag. So we're doing that and creating what we call sous vide ready meats. And we just launched that website this week, and so far it's getting great traffic, and we've got a few orders in, so we're excited about that prospect as well. One of the things we like to measure is our economic impact. I talked earlier about number of dollars per acre that we might be able to make farming this way versus a more conventional way to farm. And the numbers are really, really interesting. If you're growing corn and soybeans in Indiana, you sell this low margin commodity, and in a good year you might make $600 an acre. In a bad year you might make less than $300 an acre, which means you don't make money at all as a farmer. In farming this way, putting grass back into the ground, we're in the $6,000 an acre range, right? So a lot of farmers are starting to pay attention to that. So we have our own farms, as I mentioned earlier, where we're farming 600 or 700 acres, but we also contract with 10 other farms to do all kinds of things for them. So we're buying chickens from other farmers and pigs from other farmers and cattle and beef from other farmers that have kind of caught on to what we're doing and adding Tyner Pond style animal raising to their mix, and then they sell that into our system. We have a very strict protocol to make sure that everyone is following our methodology, which includes no shots ever, no drugs, no antibiotics, no hormones in the cattle, non-GMO feed, and all grown locally. So it's really created an amazing economy where if you go from the farmers who work directly for Tyner Pond Farm, the staff of Tyner Pond Farm as a marketing organization, our delivery people, our processors, our butchers, our partners. This is impacting well over 100 jobs in central Indiana. So, it becomes meaningful. It's not just, isn't this a cute little hobby farm, which a lot of people accused me of in the beginning. We do some work with other restaurants. We have a wholesale business, but we really don't focus on that too much. One of the issues in the society is if you're the kind of restaurant that's doing farm to table, chances are you're already working with another farmer. And one of the things we really never want to do is compete with another farmer. We want this pie to grow bigger. We want it to be non-elitist, right? So we don't go into a restaurant and try and underprice another similar farmer for their product. We have to now create our own markets, which is why we get our own restaurant businesses going so we can control our own supply and also, again, make the pie bigger. One of the things we talk about is we don't want this to be elitist, right? There's this myth out there that people who eat the kind of food we raise are sort of these urban millennial yuppies driving around in Escalades, right? That this is really special food for special people. And what we try and prove very much is that, people want quality food. I think one of the best lessons of our home delivery business or even the mug is how demographically agnostic it is. We get people from all walks of life that will choose to pay 35 cents more for a piece of meat because it's better quality, it tastes better, it's more nutritious, it's not old, it's not from a grocery store, hasn't been shipped all over the country, and it supports their local community. Another thing we constantly harp on is the idea of community wealth, right? People think about local as being this sort of trendy, and again, this sort of urban, yuppie, millennial thing. But the reality is you drive around central Indiana and you look at all the small towns we live in, you can look at these buildings and say, boy, this place used to be prosperous. What happened? And what happened is we kind of globalized our food supply. We globalized our agriculture. And so we took our dollars and started shipping them out of our community. The way you create community wealth is you keep dollars churning over within your community, right? So the more dollars we can keep home, the more dollars stay in our community and the more prosperous our communities become. And that's really one of our primary focuses and something we advocate when we talk to government people a lot about why this is better for the state than perhaps another alternative farming method. One of the early decisions we had to make was to what degree are we going to be, for lack of a better word, good, right? How pristine, what are the compromises we have to make to accomplish our goals? So one of the things we came up with was sort of this hierarchy of goodness. So for example, when we first started, it was very difficult for us to find non-GMO corn. And so we had a choice. We could import non-GMO corn from Michigan and have it help Michigan load on semis, handled many times to have non-GMO feed, or contract with my neighbor across the road here and just buy the corn that he had, which was GMO. And so we sort of came up with what I call the hierarchy of goodness, which is always choose local first, right? At the end of the day, that's the most important thing. If you buy local, buy from your neighbors, keep your dollars circulating. Then we have things like no antibiotics ever. Then we had things like non-GMO. And the good thing that happens is you start working with these people and they start realizing, for example, they can make more money growing non-GMO and you are a guaranteed market for them, well, they'll switch to non-GMO. So we had a year, maybe a year and a half of using GMO, but because we made the decision to work with our local farmers, they made the switch for us and we were easily able to transition to non-GMO feed and still be local. Same with antibiotics and things like that. So, there's always a lot of compromises. With the mug, we want this food to be accessible. We want everyone to enjoy the mug, not just elite people who have a lot of money. So we want to be able to make it affordable. The most important thing is the food and the food quality. So sometimes we'll get grief about our packaging. We use styrofoam cups, for example. And I don't like it. I wish I was using paper, recyclable, biodegradable, but they're expensive. They're 30 cents a cup, 27 cents a cup compared to a nickel for a styrofoam cup. So that's 27 cents per meal that I can lower the price of that particular meal. So again, in this hierarchy of goodness and compromise, we try and focus on the product itself. And sometimes, we're not going to do the exact same thing that another restaurant who's selling a $9 hamburger might do. But at the end of the day, I think I will argue that the mug is maybe the most popular hamburger in Greenfield. It seems to be. We have a restaurant that was a very seasonal, barely making it open 3 or 4 months a year, to now doing year-round business very consistently, and lots and lots of people coming from all over. I believe 40% of our customers at the Mug are coming from outside of Greenfield. They make the pilgrimage to Hancock County to eat at the Mug. And again, that raises all tides, because while they're in town, they stop by the antique store, they run into the chocolate shop, they buy, so again, bringing more dollars into the community is an important goal of ours. The weather today is kind of nasty, so I think what we'll do is I'll show you some of the inside things with the farm. We've looked at the farmhouse, and I think we'll show you our on-farm store, and then a little bit of our processing and how we process the animals and what we do here inside in the wintertime. So we keep talking about revenue streams on the farm, and one is our farm store. This is completely self-service, not maintained by anyone. We have a Square computer in here, and it's very much honor system. So people stop in, they pick up whatever they want to pick up, they swipe their card in the Square, or they leave cash in a drawer and go. And we've had no problems. We've never had any evidence of any kind of theft or anything, and it's turned out to be a really, really good business. Surprisingly, a lot of people come through here. Let me show you inside. So we have freezers here. They're all marked with what the products are inside. So this is our beef freezer. We've got everything from hamburger, and we stock this pretty much every day from our butcher shop as it runs out. So hamburgers, steaks, patties. We also sell husk sweet corn and husk vegetables, which are all local, and deer bologna, and not deer bologna, I'm sorry, summer sausage. This is some pork. Obviously, I haven't talked too much about our pork, and we'll talk about our pigs later in another episode, but we're exclusively Berkshire and heritage breed animals that are raised on pasture. So the quality of our pork is probably one of the most unique things about the farm, just how much better everything tastes. The Mug is sort of an old-fashioned root beer stand, if you will, a drive-in with a lot of modern twists. We're about 20 minutes outside of Indianapolis in Greenfield, Indiana. We're very local food focused. Pretty much everything we serve here comes from within the county, and part of what makes it work is not only just the food itself, but a lot of it is technology driven. This isn't your grandpa's ice cream stand.
Chris, at his whole, wants to do things first class and wants to change the experience that somebody has at a small town drive-in. Without the fiber and without the wireless technology we had, it'd be the old pen and paper.
We do all of our ordering on iPads. We wait on tables and wait on cars. With the iPads, they've got to stream wirelessly into the cloud, right? There is no server here. We're very data-driven. I have an app that I can look real time at what's going on in this store. The problem with those systems is that you need a ton of bandwidth, that most places, even in downtown Indianapolis, they don't have that bandwidth. We wouldn't be able to do this as well as we do it if we didn't have 9-Star and the bandwidth that we have here in Hancock County. One of the things I value most about 9-Star is, in fact, the relationship. You know, these are people who live in my community, and that's our entire philosophy, from buying local from farms to being able to buy local from companies.
Chris is very much an entrepreneur. He's bringing things to this community that very much needs in terms of investments and jobs, employing people, and we feel like it's absolutely critical for us to support his need.
If we didn't have 9-Star as a partner, our costs would be significantly higher. I mean, that's probably the #1 benefit. We would have to have a server-based POS and CRM system, which would be in the $20,000 to $30,000 range to get started. When you think about farm to table or chef driven, you think $9, $10 hamburgers, right? Well, by cutting out tons of overhead, we're able to get our hamburger down to $3.50. And we're able to get that success because 9-Star gives us all that bandwidth that we can use. So again, one of the keys for us to be vertically integrated is that we do a lot of our processing on the farm. So I'm going to show you that here in a minute. Primarily what we do here are things that require a recipe or are going to our restaurants. So a lot of times what you'll see here are sausages. We do no nitrate bacons, no nitrate sausages. We make a wonderful hot dog here. So a lot of that sort of thing we do here with Brad and Monty Gruel. So a lot of people might know them locally. They've been around forever. But anyway, they're great guys, and we love what's going on here. So come on and I'll show you. Hey guys.
Hey guys.
So this is Monty and this is Brad Gruel, and
How you doing?
today they're working on spare ribs. So these
We're,
are
have you told them, the whole thing?
No.
We're a state inspector comes every day. We're a all natural. All our animals are hormone, antibiotic free. We mostly do pork here. We cut all the meat for the mug and future restaurants.
right.
Yeah,
We've got a new business started. I mentioned earlier, sous vide tonight, where
Yeah.
we'll actually be pre-seasoning this before it gets vacuum bagged. So we'll pre-season it and then vacuum bag it here. And if you're a chef or a cook, you know, you can cook it this way and you can season it yourself if you like, or we'll have pre-seasoned so that you can throw this right on your grill already seasoned or marinated. Or if you're a sous vide cook, which is basically cooking in a water bath, you just drop the whole package right straight into the water bath and sous vide it. So we're really excited about that. But yeah, so this is where we do all of that kind of work. And again, controlling every step of the process, cutting out a lot of middlemen, works out really well.
This room over here is our smoking room here, and this is also where Chef Mike works on the sous vide recipes and comes up with different ideas. We have a Southern Fried 5,000 and a whole over 400 pounds of meat. This is where we smoke all our bacon and all our smoked sausages,
Hot dogs.
ham,
Brad just made a
pulled
delicious
pork.
bologna that we just started selling yesterday or today.
All pork bologna just come out, all natural seasonings. And this is where Mike's
This is kind of our test kitchen.
test kitchen here, where he comes up with the new CV recipes.
Yeah, we're really fortunate to have chefs on our team, right? So we can create all this great new products, great new food, and again create more demand to help more farmers, including ourselves, and great products for the consumer. So hopefully you've got a general idea from a big picture standpoint about how Tyner Pond works, what our mission is, what we're trying to accomplish, how the economics work, what we think about the community. In future episodes, we're going to dig much, much deeper into the methodologies, everywhere from how do the restaurants run to how do we raise cattle, our rotations. We'll get into our pork processing, all kinds of things like that. So thanks again for coming out today, and we'll see you next time.